Welcome back to the Junius Maltby Channel. There's a very entertaining story that I stumbled upon today, and I'm surprised I haven't ever seen it or read about it before. And I wanted to share it with all of you here on the channel because it involves some of the things that we all find interesting, and it ties into some of the things we discuss about time and the preservation of wealth, how long gold lasts, among other things. The value outside of gold and precious metals, things that are more valuable, things that we can value, such as experiences, adventure, life, and the beautiful world we all live in. And it's this incredible story about, I don't want to call him an eccentric, but a millionaire adventurer named Forrest Fenn. And Forrest, he's still alive, I believe, he's in his 80s, years ago, hid a treasure of considerable value, considerable wealth. And his whole goal in hiding this treasure, one of his goals that he has stated, was to encourage people to get off the couch, to get out of the house, to put down their technology, their smartphones, their video games, and to explore the beautiful, great outdoors, to breathe the fresh mountain air, and to bask in the sunshine and explore the Rocky Mountains of the United States. And I spent some time watching some of the interviews of Forrest, reading some of his interviews, and I really came to like the guy just in the way he delivered this message and kind of his motivation for hiding this treasure. Real quickly, let's talk about the treasure, what it is. Well, it's an elaborate bronze box, and I imagine the box itself, these are images of the actual box. Intricately carved and detailed and made of, I guess, cast bronze. It does have a locking mechanism. However, it is unlocked wherever it's hidden. He made that clear so that the person could open it. Within the box is 20.2 troy pounds. Again, 20.2 troy pounds of gold. And it's a mix of 265 gold coins, many of them eagles and double eagles from the United States, ancient Middle Eastern coins. There's several nuggets in there, gold nuggets. 2 of the nuggets, he states, weigh over 1 pound each, so they're over 1 pound in gold. There's 260 rubies, diamonds, emeralds, and sapphires. There's pre-Columbian gold, apparently a little gold statue or idol that predates the discovery of the New World, and I believe you can see it in these images, kind of in that left-hand corner of the chest. I just get entertainment just looking at these pictures of this treasure, let alone even going to start looking for it or having ever seen it. Just these photos alone of his chest is pretty exciting when you think about it. Just to look at a chest full of gold, a real chest full of gold, an actual treasure. There's also ancient Chinese carved jade in the chest. Now, he stashed this, hid it, placed this treasure while he was in his 80s. But he's a very in shape and adventurous individual, so I would assume it's still in a place that's quite remote and possibly difficult to get to. Now, when you read about his life, I've got some tips here I want to share with everyone, because I want this treasure to be found just like anybody else, and I can care less if I find it. I'd love to. But I'd love to give my input, because I've spent a lot of time adventuring, and that's one of the reasons I think I was immediately attracted to this type of persona. His personality and who he was, is there's a lot of common interests and a lot of common ground. Literally, we've walked a lot of the same ground and explored some of the same regions here in the United States. So I think I have a little bit of insight into places that he's talking about, or clues. So let's go ahead, we'll read the poem. I haven't even gotten to that part yet, have I? So he wrote a book, some memoirs, and in it he included a poem that he says consists of 9 clues. Now, it depends how you interpret these clues, but there's 9 clues, and depending on your interpretation, will lead you to this treasure that he's hid. In one of his memoirs, he also includes a map of the region. There's a map of the region now, and it's going to be 4 states: Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and northern New Mexico. It's not all of New Mexico, but northern New Mexico, because he says it's north of Santa Fe. It's in the Rocky Mountains, essentially, the Rocky Mountain front. Now, we're going to get to that poem, so don't worry, I promise you. We're going to get to that. I want to get to these quick tips, though, additional information that he's released over the years to kind of clarify some things. Because this treasure does exist. I've watched enough interviews and read enough about him, as well as see that it was validated by other individuals he showed the chest to prior to hiding it. So we know for a fact, I'm confident that this chest does exist after paying some attention to the individual himself, and again, reading some of the statements on it. Now, the treasure is not in a graveyard, so again, you should never go up dig a grave up. I believe it's not even buried at all. Essentially, it sounds like it's exposed to the elements and can get wet. He has stated that it is at times often wet, so no need to dig it up. The treasure is hidden higher than 5,000 feet above sea level. So it's going to be in a higher elevation, again, above 5,000 feet. But when you look at the map of the region, we'll get to that towards the end here. There's a lot of country in the Rocky Mountains that is above 5,000 feet. Some of it, a lot of it, as a matter of fact, is inhabited. There's cities that exist at 5,000 feet in different parts of the Rockies. So that does help, though, because if you were to find yourself at 3 or 4 or 5,000 or 3 or 4,000 feet and not above that 5,000 foot line, you would be looking in the wrong area. Now, we'll get to the tips towards the end. I want to share my tips with you guys, but I want to read the poem first because there's a lot to take out of it. Obviously, that's the first big clue that our friend Forrest released on where the treasure is hidden. So let's go ahead and read it. As I have gone alone in there, and with my treasures bold, I can keep my secret where, and hint of riches new and old. Begin it where warm waters halt, and take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk. Put in below the home of brown. From there it's no place for the meek. The end is ever drawing nigh. There'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. If you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease, but tarry scant with marvel gaze, just take the chest and go in peace. So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answers I already know. I've done it tired, and now I'm weak. So hear me all and listen good. Your effort will be worth the cold. If you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to the gold. So that's a pretty cool little poem. I like that. I thought that was definitely an interesting clue. This is something like you'd take out of a fictional novel. I mean, this is like something out of a Tolkien novel, like The Hobbit. Like a dragon, when you'd expect to get there and there'd be a dragon curled up on this chest of gold. Now, a couple of tips that I've got. Now, this is just my personal opinions on this. I haven't even ventured. However, I've covered a lot of this country, and I'm sure if I stumbled upon this box, I would have been happy to find it. But I believe he hit it 2010-ish, 2012. So not too long ago. Less than 6 years ago, I believe this treasure was hid. Now, let's get to the clues and how I interpret some of the things here. When you look at the map, when you look at the region, one thing that jumped out at me pretty quick was the warm water. He talks about warm water's end. That's one of the first clues, right? Begin where the warm waters halt. Now, he spent a lot of time, when you look at his life, and I looked into it a little bit, he spent a lot of time living in the Yellowstone National Park region. I believe he lived in West Yellowstone, and with his father, He even constructed some hotels in that area. And at one point he talks about walking 91 miles. He walked 91 miles to Bozeman, and which is a town just north of West Yellowstone. And it looks like on the maps you have to venture through some canyons. There's an area in there called the Gallatin Canyon, and I've actually been in that region several times. I've hiked in there, I've summited some peaks, climbed some peaks in that region, explored some of those forests, done some mountaineering in the wilderness areas there. As I've said, I've explored a lot of the areas that are on these maps in Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico. So I've spent time in all 4 of the states featured here. And what's one common theme in the Rocky Mountains is warm water, hot water, thermals. So where warm waters halt. I'm guessing, and this is just a guess, again, a tip, I believe he's referring to some warm waters, especially if you spent considerable time in the Yellowstone area. There's a lot of areas right outside the park or on the border that flow into the surrounding states that have geothermal activity, hot springs. There's areas where you can find hot water flowing into a cold stream or a cold river, and that hot spring might be surrounded by algae. It could be coming out of rocks. And there's various places on the Yellowstone River where just out of Yellowstone Park on the northern end coming out, there is hot water, hot springs pouring into the river. So you look at that where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down. So could it be where hot water meets a river, and then that river then carves through a canyon, and in that canyon down, not far, so it's not very far, but it's too far to walk. That might mean that it's just impassable. There might be an area where the rocks or the cliffs are so steep that you're unable to walk through that area. You might have to raft down it or go around that canyon area. So that, to me, that makes some sense, that there's a hot spring or flowing into a colder body of water, ending and halting there, and then mixing with the cold waters, flowing through a canyon. He also talks about putting in below the home of brown. So, one common fish that's in this large area, all the way from New Mexico to Montana, and in some places it was introduced, but they're there, and he was a fly fisherman. He loved fly fishing. And you can read that when you look into his life. So, fly fishermen love the brown trout. Brown trout, German browns, are prevalent throughout these ecosystems, especially the Madison, the Jefferson, the Gallatin, the Yellowstone River, all throughout Wyoming. I believe they're even the Green River. So all of these rivers, even down into New Mexico. When you look at up on there, there's guys that fly fish down there for brown trout. So, again, that's why it could be any of these 4 states, but he's talking about putting it in below the home of brown. So part of me really believes that he's referring to German browns, brown trout, their habitat, or somewhere in that area. So below the home of brown, I don't know. Could it be, could that mean downstream? Because that would be below the home of brown. Maybe a favorite fishing hole, maybe a favorite bend in the river, a deep, cold spot where he used to cast a fly and catch some browns. And it might be downstream from that point. From there, it's no place for the meek. The end is never ever drawing nigh. There will be no paddle up for your creek. Could it be rapids? Could that mean there's a waterfall? The end of the... that's a very confusing part to me. Now, I do think that there's some kind of obstacle that you'd be facing at that point. I don't know if it's a waterfall or what. Now, he talks about in the next stanza, there's, if you've been wise and found the blaze. Could that be a color? Could that be a brilliant fire-like appearing stone or wall of red rock? Because a lot of the areas, especially the Four Corners area, if you go down by Colorado and New Mexico down in there, there is some red rocks that look ablaze. But you'll remember, if you've spent time in the wilderness, in the mountains, if you've hiked a lot of trails, as Forrest has, that a blaze can also be a trail marker, and there's various different symbols that can be carved into trees or placed on the side of a trail, and they're referred to as a blaze, to mark that trail, to mark that location or that direction of travel. He says, if you've been wise and found the blaze, comma, look quickly down, and your quest to cease. But tarry scant with marvel gaze, just take the chest and go in peace. So is there a marker directly above the chest? Is there a blaze marker? I don't know. Again, if I did, I'd have found it, right? I haven't even looked for it, but just in reading through these things, I'm trying to apply what I already know about this area, this region, and exploring it. And having spent time there, trying to connect it to the poem that Forrest wrote and trying to figure out a way to extract as much information out of it as possible. Let's just read the last part one more time. So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answer I already know. I've done it, tired, and now I'm weak. So hear me all and listen good. Your effort will be worth the cold. If you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to the gold. So, in the wood, I wonder what that part means. In a boat, in the forest, in the woods, the trees around, big trees. Interesting, isn't it? It's exciting. You guys, there's no way you can't learn about this. There's no way anyone can learn about this story and not be excited. And it just goes to show you, once again, the magic, the connection that we all have with the precious metal gold, because obviously that's the largest amount of the wealth in this chest is tied to gold. It's measured in the approximately $2 to $3 million range, this treasure. So imagine, and I've heard actually estimates of upwards of $4 million, but imagine finding this $2 to $3 million treasure. It's pretty impressive, pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. I would wish anyone the best of luck. If any of my clues panned out at all, if one of these triggered something during your hunt and you were able to find the treasure based on a clue here, something that I said just now, just all I ask is just one coin out of this wonderful little treasure chest to frame or to put somewhere, because that would just be so incredible. I encourage all the viewers of this channel, all the subscribers of the Junius Maltby Channel, to adventure, to explore. We're coming into summer. This is the time of year to get out and hike, explore the mountains, turn off the computers, ignore the news and the financial media, ignore everything, ignore all the distractions. You guys, if you've been around this channel for any length of time, you're very aware that once the sun is high in the sky and the days are long and there's garden work to be done and fruit on the trees and trails to be hiked and mountains to be climbed and rivers to be floated, you know that I'm pretty much gone. I'm exploring the planet. I'm anywhere from Alaska to New Mexico to California, as far east as North Carolina and the Outer Banks and the sand dunes there. So you'll never know where I might be at that time, but I can tell you one thing. I value the time we have here to explore and adventure while I'm still healthy enough to do so. And I appreciate guys like Forrest that put things into perspective like that. Here's a guy that says, you know what? This treasure is a way to kind of immortalize my legacy, but it's also a way to encourage people to be outside and to make them hike and explore places that I value, that I explored as a youth. Because that's what he says. He explored a lot of these places as he was growing up and when he was younger. And he wants to share that with all of us. So he's encouraging you to go out there. And one of the motivating factors he has is, hey, there's 20 pounds of gold out there for the taking. So have fun, go find it. I doubt I'll ever find it. I doubt any of us will ever find it. But I can tell you one thing. I'm glad it's out there. I'm glad people are out hiking it. And I just appreciate guys like Forrest and reminding us of things like that. Thanks for being part of the Junius Maltby Channel. I'm excited to share this tidbit of information with all of you. And I hope all of you have an adventurous summer out there exploring. If you're not in America, you're over there, one of our viewers in Australia, one of our viewers in Canada or England, Italy, Germany, Spain, anywhere. Come on over. Come to America. Visit a little bit. Come to the Rocky Mountains. Explore one of these 4 states this summer. And take part in the adventure in looking for Forrest Fenn's hidden treasure. Alright, have a good day. Thanks for being here. Thanks for viewing. Like, share, subscribe, be part of the channel, join the discussions, And as always, please dive into the archives, go back in time here, and watch some of the earlier videos and explore some of the playlists that we have here on the Junius Maltby Channel.